My name is Lila Harrington, and I'm 29. In digital marketing, you learn to read a line item for what it really is: cost or conversion. Love has line items too. You can call something romance all day, but if it bleeds you, it's still a loss. My fiancé, Noah Grant, was a resident charmer. Empathy in soft tones, ambition in pressed shirts. We got engaged in October at the cliff where we had our first date. He slipped the ring on with a reverent smile, like he was placing a promise inside a vault. The wedding was set for June 15th. Deposits paid, families coordinating outfits, 1,000 tiny decisions already made. We were at his apartment in April, hunched over spreadsheets that looked like a seating algorithm had married chaos. I called out 97 on my list. You? 103, Noah said, not looking up. Actually, one more. Tessa. My typing stopped. Tessa, as in your ex. He kept his eyes on the cells, casual like it cost him nothing. We've been catching up. She heard about the wedding, wanted to wish us well. I think it would be nice if she came. Nice. My voice tried for neutral and landed in thin ice. Inviting your ex-girlfriend to our wedding is unconventional. Noah finally looked up. His expression was calm enough to set off alarms. Mature adults can be friends with their exes, Lila. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't object. You'd respect the friendships that shaped me. There it was. The trap dressed like virtue. Object, and I'm insecure. Agree, and I'm complicit. How long have you been talking to her? I asked. A few weeks, he said lightly. Just catching up. And that didn't feel worth mentioning until now? It didn't seem important. His smile softened. I love you. I want everyone who matters to me to be there. I thought of the cliff proposal, my parents practicing how to pronounce Grant like it belonged to me. The way my sister kept scribbling misses in her notebook and laughing at herself. I wanted to be generous. I also didn't want to be managed. Invite her, I said finally. Surprise flickered across his face and then relief. Thank you. This is why we work. Your understanding. He leaned over and kissed my forehead. You won't regret it. The second he went to shower, I opened Instagram and typed Tessa Monroe. Public profile. Photos bright as advertisements. And in half a scroll, an anniversary post. 2 years. Husband tagged. Adam Monroe. Golden retriever. A lot of trail photos. Kisses with sunset backdrops. If Tessa was married and catching up was truly innocent, why did it arrive like a test I was meant to fail? I didn't message her. Not yet. Instead, I called my older sister, Kate, the person who tells me the truth I don't want to hear. She's a line she wants you to cross, Kate said without greeting, like she'd been waiting for this call. If you protest, you're controlling. If you comply, you're pliable. What if I'm reading too much into it? When has your gut ever been wrong about him? She asked gently. 6 months into dating, I'd felt a pit about a work trip. It wasn't cheating then, just a lie about who was going. I swallowed it. We moved on, apparently. What do I do, Kate? She exhaled. You may think this is petty. It isn't. It's precise. If Noah wants Tessa there, invite Adam, her husband, as your guest to the rehearsal dinner. Let the truth RSVP for itself. I stared at the guest list until the columns blurred. The rehearsal dinner was small. 40 people, mostly family, bridal party, the ones who would remember the toasts forever. Noah had insisted Tessa come to that as well, so she doesn't feel left out. Red flags waved like a parade. That night I created a new account and messaged Adam Monroe. Hi Adam, you don't know me. I'm Lila, Noah's fiancé. He recently added your wife, Tessa, to our wedding and has been in contact with her. I only learned this when she appeared on the list tonight. I believe in transparency. Would you be open to a brief call? His reply came within the hour. What is this? He told us it was a co-worker's wedding in Eugene, day trip. Our venue was in Portland at the Sentinel. I typed the details with clinical calm and watched the typing bubble appear like a fuse. We spoke that night. Adam was a middle school science teacher with a voice like steel cooled in water, controlled, direct. He hadn't heard my name. He had heard a lot of things that turned to smoke as we talked. I'll come to your rehearsal dinner, he said finally, as your guest. Are you sure? I asked. It's not light. Oh, I'm sure. If my wife is reconnecting with her ex and lying to me about it, I'm not going to learn it from a caption. When I hung up, the room felt different. Not safer, just honest. Noah padded back in barefoot, hair damp, smelling like eucalyptus. You okay? He asked, settling beside me. You've gone quiet. I'm thinking about seating charts, I said. You know how I get. He smiled. You're being so calm about everything. Most brides spiral by now. I trust things will work out exactly as they should, I said. He kissed my cheek. This is why I can't wait to marry you. After he fell asleep on the couch, I opened my calendar and highlighted June 14th. Rehearsal, 6:30 p.m. Then I wrote, in a note only I would see, let the truth sit where it belongs. I closed the laptop. I didn't tremble. I didn't cry. I just listened to the apartment breathe and realized I could finally hear my own. The week before the rehearsal dinner moved like something underwater, slow on the outside, churned to riptide beneath. On paper, I was a bride ticking boxes. In private, I was building a quiet stage and letting gravity rehearse its lines. I kept my tone light around Noah, measuring every syllable the way I measure ad spend. No waste, no spikes. He basked in it. You're a dream, he told me while we checked final RSVPs. Tessa said she can make both nights now, rehearsal and the wedding. Isn't that great? She wants to meet everyone. Lovely, I said, writing down her name under dinner, attending. I pressed the pen hard enough to dot the paper. He didn't notice. He was already on to napkin colors. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my planner, my phone, and a glass of water I kept forgetting to drink. Adam and I had agreed on logistics. He would arrive 20 minutes after the listed start time, enough for people to be seated and introduced, not so late that it looked theatrical. I'd seat him near Kate, directly across from Tessa's place card, 2 seats down from me. No flourish, no announcement, just proximity. Bring a friend if you want, I'd told him over the phone, offering an exit ramp from the optics of arriving as my guest. I'll come alone, he said. I want there to be room for silence to do its job. I slept 3 hours that night, the kind of shallow sleep where your brain keeps its shoes on. By morning, the text started. Family chat pinging with travel ETAs, Mom sending a photo of the dress she'd finally chosen, Dad confirming he had the Toast Index card in his wallet because he didn't trust pockets. Kate popped by with croissants and a look that said, I'm here if you fall apart, and I know you won't at the same time. You sure you want to do it at the rehearsal? She asked softly, pouring coffee. It's small, I said. The people who will help me remember correctly will be there. Okay, she squeezed my shoulder. Then let the facts introduce themselves. At lunch, Noah sent me a photo of the boutonnieres. Ranunculus or rose? Ranunculus, I replied. You're the best, he wrote. Tessa says she's bringing a really nice Pinot for dinner. She's excited to celebrate us. Us. I stared at the word until it turned into letters. That afternoon, I went to the venue to double-check details that didn't actually need checking. The coordinator, Marisol, walked me through the dining room. Low light, Edison bulbs, a long farmhouse table set for 40, with small clusters of peonies and thyme. It was lovely. It was intimate. It was a place designed for truth to stand up and speak in a normal voice. Seating is final? Marisol asked. Final, I said, placing Adam Monroe across from Tessa with steady hands. I slid Noah's card beside mine. His family flanked us like parentheses. I drove home past the cliff where we got engaged. The ocean looked conspiratorially calm. I rolled down the window and let the salt air slap me awake. At 5, Noah came over in a navy blazer and the cologne I'd given him in January. He looked beautiful, in the way illusions often do. Ready? He asked, kissing my hairline. I am, I said, and surprised myself with the truth in it. We arrived at the restaurant early with my family. Hugs, photos, the swirl of names and old stories. Noah's parents arrived next, his mother radiant in coral, his father already misting at the thought of speeches. They loved me. I loved them back. My stomach twisted at the thought of what the evening would demand of all of us. Tessa walked in at 7:05. She was smaller than she looked online, nerves disguised as poise, a bottle of Pinot in one hand and a gift bag in the other. Noah lit up. There's no other word for it. He hugged her, 3 seconds too long. A beat too intimate. I watched Noah's mother's smile flicker. Everyone, Noah said, buoyant. This is Tessa, one of my closest friends from college. Hi, Tessa chirped, and her eyes found me. The smile faltered, then returned, tamped down. Lila, you're gorgeous. This is all so gorgeous. Thank you, I said, like our lives weren't a loaded table. We took our places. I could feel Kate's watchful presence like a hand at my back. Tessa landed 2 seats down from me. perfectly placed by Noah, as if he'd anticipated the oxygen he'd need to breathe nostalgia all evening. He settled into a story about sophomore year, the prank, the dean, the ice machine. People laughed on cue. I sipped water and let the minute hand climb. At 7:20, the door behind me opened. I didn't look immediately. I didn't have to. The air changed, the way a room does when someone walks in who belongs to another story entirely. I stood, smoothed my dress, and walked to greet Adam. He was taller than I'd imagined, neatly dressed, eyes steady. A man who'd chosen composure over spectacle. I offered my hand. "I'm glad you came," I said, low enough for only him to hear. "Me too," he said. "Whatever happens, thank you for telling me the truth." "Everyone," I said at a normal volume as we reached the table. "This is Adam, a friend." I faced Kate. "Could you sit him here?" She caught my eye and nodded, something like pride tucked under her lashes. Tessa was busy laughing at something Noah's sister had said. She turned, mid-laugh, and saw Adam directly across from her. Color left her face with startling efficiency. A half-second later, her mouth opened, then closed, a fish pulled from the story and into air. Noah didn't see it at first. He was pouring wine, explaining the Pinot's black cherry thing like he'd researched it. When he finally looked up, his gaze flicked from Tessa to Adam to me. The smirk he saved for feeling in control faltered. "Excuse me," Tessa whispered, standing so quickly her chair scraped. She moved toward the hallway, almost a run. Kate stood with surgical timing. "I'll show you the restroom," she said pleasantly, and followed. Noah leaned toward me, voice low. "What is this?" "Seating chart," I said. "Who is he?" "A guest," I said, "like Tessa." Across the table, Adam sat with his hands folded, breathing through his nose, an exercise in restraint. Noah's father tried to fill silence with a story about parking downtown. No one heard him. 10 minutes passed. Kate returned first, composed. Tessa followed, eyes red but chin up, a woman who had decided to perform normalcy until it shattered. We all sat. The waiter arrived with salads. The clink of utensils was a parody of domesticity. I saw Noah's hand slide under the table toward Tessa's knee. It was instinct, maybe, or muscle memory. Either way, it was enough. I lifted my glass. "A quick toast," I said calmly, "to truth, wherever it chooses to sit." Noah's eyes snapped to mine. The room waited, breath held. And that was where I let the moment hover, between cutlery and confession, between denial and the door, so the truth could gather itself before it walked in with its full name. There's a sound people make when the world tilts. Not a gasp, not a scream. It's softer, like a breath breaking in half. That's what filled the room when Adam spoke. "Hi," he said evenly, setting down his fork. "I'm Adam Monroe. I'm Tessa's husband." The word husband didn't echo. It detonated. Forks froze midair. Someone's wine glass clinked against a plate like punctuation. Tessa went rigid, eyes wide, lips parting as if she could inhale the lie back into her throat. "Adam," she whispered, "please." "Don't," he said quietly, his composure more devastating than anger. "Just don't." Noah's hand fell away from beneath the table. I watched the color drain from his face, followed by the faint tremor of someone realizing there are no exits left. "Wait," Noah said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're her husband? But I thought—" "You thought she was divorced?" Adam finished, tone polite but surgical. "Yeah. That's what she told you, isn't it?" The silence turned alive. You could feel it listening. Tessa's composure snapped. "I can explain," she blurted. "This isn't what it looks like." "Then by all means," Adam said, leaning back. "Explain to all of us why your husband is at your ex-boyfriend's wedding rehearsal." Her eyes darted to Noah, begging him to take control of the narrative. He tried. "This is crazy," he said quickly, voice pitching up. "Lila, you invited him here. Why would you do this?" "Transparency," I said simply. "Since that's something we both value, remember?" Noah's mother put a hand to her chest. "What's going on?" Tessa's voice cracked. "I didn't mean for this to happen. Adam and I were separated." "We weren't," Adam interrupted. "We had a fight in March. You moved out for 2 nights and came home like nothing happened. You were texting him, weren't you?" Noah swallowed hard. "Tessa said you two were done, that you hadn't spoken in months." "Of course she did." Adam laughed softly, the kind of laugh people use when there's nothing left to salvage. "She told me she was going to a work friend's wedding. I didn't realize the friend was the man she dated for 3 years in college, the one she still keeps photos of in her iCloud." A visible shudder rippled through Noah. "Tessa, is that true?" She whispered something too low to catch, her hands trembling in her lap. Kate reached under the table and gave my hand one firm squeeze. Not comfort, just confirmation. Now you know. I turned to Noah, voice calm but shaking with controlled fury. You told me you'd only reconnected for a few weeks. How long has this really been going on? He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Months, I said for him. Right? The timing lines up too perfectly. Late nights, last-minute calls, all those shifts in your schedule. You weren't planning a wedding. You were rehearsing an escape plan. That's not true, he snapped, panic edging his tone. I love you, Lila. You're overreacting. Overreacting? I repeated, my voice steady. You invited your ex-girlfriend, who's married, to our wedding. Gaslit me into agreeing, and now her husband is here confirming everything. That's not overreacting, Noah. That's math. His father cleared his throat, trying to diffuse the explosion with parental authority. Son, maybe we should step outside. No, I said, standing. We'll stay right here. Tessa began crying openly, face buried in her hands. Adam pushed his chair back, rising slowly. I'm done, he said, looking at her one last time. You can keep whatever story makes you feel better. I'm finished living inside it. He turned to me. Thank you, Lila, for letting me see it clearly. He walked out. The door closed with the clean finality of truth. For a long moment, nobody moved. The sound of the restaurant outside, laughter, cutlery, normal life, felt like it belonged to another universe. Noah broke first. Lila, please, he said, voice cracking. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know she was still married. I thought she was... Available? I asked. That's the problem, Noah. You never cared about right or wrong, just available or not. He stepped toward me, desperate now. Don't do this. Don't throw everything away over a mistake. A mistake, I said slowly, is spilling coffee. This was a 6-month deception. He flinched, whispering, I just needed closure. You needed a thrill, I said, and you needed me stable enough to hold the ground while you chased it. My mother's voice trembled behind me. Lila, sweetheart. I turned to her gently. Mom, it's okay. I'm done. Then to Noah. The wedding's off. Keep your deposits. Keep your apologies. I'm keeping my self-respect. The color drained from his face completely. You're serious? I've never been clearer, I said. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Don't touch me, Noah. The table stayed silent as I gathered my bag and straightened my shoulders. Kate stood too, ready to follow. As I passed Noah's mother, she whispered, I'm so sorry, dear. I nodded once. None of this was her fault. I walked out of that restaurant into cool Portland air, the streetlight catching the ring on my hand. I twisted it once, slid it off, and placed it on the stone ledge outside the door. Behind me, muffled chaos erupted, raised voices, chairs scraping, someone crying harder. Ahead of me, traffic hummed, indifferent and alive. I took a deep breath, exhaled, and thought, better to lose a wedding than a lifetime. Then I started walking. The next 48 hours felt like standing in the eye of a storm, everything eerily calm, while wreckage rearranged itself around me. By sunrise, my phone had turned into a siren. 37 calls from Noah, 4 voicemails, 3 voice notes, a string of texts that swung from pleading to rage to nostalgia. Lila, please, can we just talk? You humiliated me. You know I love you. Don't let one stupid thing destroy everything. I didn't reply. By noon, the calls switched to his mother. Her tone was polite but exhausted. Honey, maybe there's a way to salvage this, she said, like the wedding was a math equation missing a variable. We've lost so much money already. It's not about money, I said softly. It's about honesty. That ended the conversation. Kate showed up that evening with Thai takeout and a bottle of cheap Prosecco. She found me sitting on the kitchen floor in one of Noah's old sweatshirts, staring at the tuxedo bag still hanging on the back of the door. Do you regret it? She asked. No, I said. I regret how long I waited to stop pretending I didn't see it coming. We ate pad thai out of cartons. She didn't try to cheer me up. She just sat there, the way people do when they love you enough to share silence. By day 3, Noah switched tactics. The grand gesture phase. He showed up at my building with flowers and tearful apologies. The concierge called before buzzing him up. I went downstairs myself. He looked like a man trying to audition for forgiveness. Eyes red, tie loose, bouquet trembling in his hand. Lila, he said, voice thick, please. I made a mistake. I can't lose you. You already did, I said. He stepped closer. We can fix this. Tessa means nothing to me. It was just talking. You mean everything. Then why didn't that stop you? I asked quietly. Why did you need to test if you could have her and still keep me? He had no answer, only tears he wanted me to interpret as repentance. I gave him one last kindness. Go home, Noah. Tell your mother the deposits are gone. Tell your father you learned something. Tell yourself the truth. You were never ready to marry anyone you still needed to compare. He stood there shaking before finally whispering, "You're cold." I smiled faintly. No, I'm finished. I turned and walked back inside. The flowers never made it past the lobby. A week later, the calls stopped. Then came a new message, this time from Adam. Thank you for inviting me that night. You saved me years of living with a liar. My lawyer says the divorce will be final by August. I'm sorry for how it all unfolded, I wrote back. Don't be, he replied. Better to watch the truth burn early than to build a life on kindling. I stared at his words for a long time, then deleted our thread. Closure didn't need conversation. It needed stillness. The wedding planner canceled every vendor. Some deposits were lost. My mother cried quietly while tallying receipts, as if numbers could measure heartbreak. I told her the truth. It's cheaper than a divorce. That made her laugh. The first real sound of relief either of us had made in days. 2 weeks later, I packed up Noah's things. Suit jackets, books, a half-used bottle of cologne. I left the tuxedo hanging, tag still on. I couldn't bring myself to return it. It wasn't a relic of failure. It was a monument to what I'd escaped. People love to say heartbreak changes you. It doesn't. It reveals you, what you tolerate, what you fear, what you finally refuse to excuse. For months, I'd told myself I was lucky to have a man so charming, so self-assured, so steady. But charm is easy. Steadiness means staying when the mirror cracks. Noah never could. One morning in August, Kate sent a text. You ready to start writing the next chapter? Already have, I replied. I'd gone back to my maiden name at work, moved into a new apartment downtown, and adopted a rescue dog named Juniper. Skittish at first, then fiercely loyal. She slept by my bed every night, as if guarding the version of me that had finally learned peace wasn't the same as pretending. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that dinner table, the stunned faces, the silence before the truth spoke its name. I used to replay it with shame. Now I replay it with gratitude. That moment freed two people from a story built on lies. A few weeks ago, a mutual friend told me Noah moved to Seattle. Apparently, he's focusing on himself. I hope he does. We both needed to. I still have the wedding dress. It's boxed, unworn, untouched. I thought about selling it, then decided to keep it, not as a symbol of loss, but of clarity. The fabric meant for a vow now guards a boundary. When people ask what happened, I just say, irreconcilable differences. It's shorter than the truth, but it's enough. Because what really happened was this. I didn't lose a wedding. I avoided a lifetime of wondering when the next lie would arrive, dressed as love. And that to me feels like happily ever after.